All right, everybody. I got a special guest for you today on the REI interview series. I have Jayme out of the South. I think he's in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. And we're actually going to talk today about how he scaled his business because I made a video, I don't know, 2 months ago about this business being very difficult to scale. Most people shouldn't do it. But if you're going to do it, you need to learn from somebody who's an expert. And thankfully, Jayme agreed to come on the show today to walk through really what he's done to grow his business. So, Jayme, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yep, sounds great.
Awesome. How did you get into real estate, man?
Yeah, so funny story is I guess 7 or so years ago, I had exited a company and took a year off and was looking to get back into something else and didn't want to
Oh,
necessarily start a company or anything. And so I reached out to a guy here in my market that was looking for somebody to basically come on board, help run marketing, things like that. So I reached out, had some conversations, and ended up working out. And 7 years later, still in real estate. We've grown and scaled a lot over the years. And so I guess at that time, our team size was less than 10 for sure. And I guess we're around 27, 28 people at this point.
wow. Is everybody local or is like, what's the team mix? Is it like a half virtual, half local? What does that look like? It's a lot of people.
Yeah, so almost everyone is either in office or work from home in the States.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, we had a cold call team, and they were located primarily in the Philippines. And we don't do cold calling anymore, but a couple of those people on that team are really really good, and so we kept them. And they're really really solid individuals. Very 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 small accent, and they work in our inside sales, what some people may call lead intake or lead manager role. Their job is to call leads that come in or answer the phone, whatever, and schedule appointments for our acquisition reps to go out.
Totally.
So, but yeah, most people are stateside, either in the office or work remotely. So we have one lady that manages our, we call it inside sales, but manages our inside sales team, and she's up in the Northeast. I can't remember, New Hampshire, somewhere up there.
Oh, she's up in New England. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, somewhere up there. She's gonna kill me if I can't remember what state she's
Yeah.
from, but yeah, she's
Live
up there.
free or die is what New Hampshire's slogan is. I used to play hockey up in New England, so we
Yep,
used to go get our equipment in New Hampshire because there's no sales tax.
yep.
So you're pretty much everyone's in the States. It's similar with me. Obviously, I don't have the amount of team members that you have. So here's my first question. You've done this business at a very high level now. You guys have scaled this thing up big time to being one of the top investors in the country, honestly. You guys are doing this not in major metros. So what have you, because this is something I've seen, just to give you some context. When I got into this business in 2015, if you were doing off-market seller marketing, that's all you needed to do to get basically as many deals as you wanted, right? As much as you could handle. Now, what I've noticed, and this is 10 years later, uh, if you're not really good at direct to seller marketing and really good on the phone and understand how these marketing systems work, you're basically cooked because back in even I remember in 2019, I would send mailers 1,000 postcards would get me a deal, and in New York, and it was like it was printing money. What have you seen in these tertiary markets with like the cost per contract, competition on deals? Because that's really throwing a lot of people off in these bigger cities.
Yeah. First of all marketing channels work. I
Yep.
think the trap that a lot of people fall into is they're chasing this magic unicorn lead source that
Yeah.
basically they answer the phone and say, "Send me a contract." But that
That doesn't
doesn't
exist.
exist. Like it all works. And so I think the advice I always get, instead of jumping from thing to thing, double and triple down on one thing that works well, and don't
Yeah.
do something else until you just need more volume. Otherwise, I think it all stems from kind of some of that FOMO. It's like, man, I've heard good things about PPC or direct mail. Like, just
Yeah.
just pick one and be an expert at it. But I think more so than anything, it's just being consistent with the marketing. And what we found is that whether it's PPC or we actually do really well with TV, radio, direct mail, the cost per contract is virtually the same across all those channels. The thing that fluctuates is the number of leads it takes to get a deal.
Mm.
Now, obviously, you can lock contracts up if you're cold calling for cheaper than if you're running PPC or whatever, but there's a cost there. There's
Oh
time.
yeah. That's the hidden cost that nobody talks about.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that, sure, if you don't have funds and you don't want to do that, find cold call, but I'm convinced that everyone will burn out at some point. And then you factor in, not only do I have to make $1,000 a day with a triple dialer or whatever, when I do get contracts, now I have to work those contracts, but I can't forget to make my cold calls because then my pipeline dries up. Like it's just this spiraling out of control kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, cost per contract is virtually the same. What we found from paid channels, again, the thing that fluctuates is the number of leads to a deal. Like for example, with radio, it's less than 6 leads to get a deal. With Facebook, it's
Wow.
14 or 15. With PPC, it's 7 or 8. That's the thing that moves around. The thing that stays largely the same, at least for us, is what it costs you to get a deal across the finish line.
Yeah. Cost per closed deal, not cost per contract, because that's where people, they don't realize, like, you can lock up a deal. Let's say you lock up 3 deals and 2 of them have title issues and those don't monetize. Now you're ultimately, your cost has gone up, right? Because your deals fell out. And some people lock deals up, they can't dispo them. Like everyone's got different business models. Are you guys sub $5,000 cost per deal over there? I'd imagine it's probably that, if it's because your area isn't as expensive as mine. Like, what are the numbers on?
Yeah, it's we're in the mid threes as far as getting the property into contract. The reality is not all contracts close. So
Yeah.
we're in that 6-ish, I'll bet. And
Okay.
we factor in issues and this fallout and all that. Ends up taking us around $6,000 to get a deal across the finish line, and we've monetized it.
That math works though. I mean, because if you're making 20, 25 grand on a deal, the economics flow through, because by the time you pay back the marketing, commissions, payroll, like it all makes sense. So that's really good, honestly, because I've seen, like I said, in Southern California, some areas in New Jersey, you're looking at 10 to 15,000 per deal. Long Island is another example of that. So, the good thing about those areas is, yeah, you can make bigger spreads. I'd assume in your area, you're sub 300K median sales price. So you're not doing luxury stuff. I don't think that's probably very common where you are.
No.
More of a bread and butter kind of area.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We attempt to, and that's kind of our goal, is to live in that 4-to-1 return across all ad channels until you get to the point where you've tapped out a particular channel. And it's not like we can't possibly mail any more people. Like we're just under 200,000 pieces of mail a month.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like we're running out of people so if we could double down on that, we would. So with that being said, you start to tap out some of these channels. And if you have a channel and your fixed costs stay the same, and you have a channel that's giving you a 3.5 to 1, you're not going to turn that off. You would if you had the choice to spend it elsewhere at a better return. But we know, like Facebook, for example, we run at about 3.5 to 1. Not great, but you don't want to turn that off.
Pays for itself.
Yeah. So
you guys running YouTube ads?
We have some on in our Google Ads account, but it's not a big focus at this point. In fact, that was one of the things I talked about our friend Tim that we both know to dig into and start to test some of that. So, our two big blue oceans for us is, historically, PPC hasn't done all that great. It's turned a corner. We brought it back in-house, doing pretty decent, and that in TV. So those are two blue oceans that aren't tapped out at this point that we're trying to optimize and scale up. And YouTube may very well be a part of that.
Yeah, YouTube, we've done okay with it. I mean, we did well in the beginning, and this is in Washington State where it's extremely expensive. I've noticed with YouTube, at least our cost per lead, which isn't the best thing to really look at because the cost per deal matters more, but the cost per lead is like $70. That's form fill. So that's decent. New York, it's double, right? I don't know why. Usually I thought it would be the opposite. The lead quality is very hit or miss, is what I've noticed with YouTube. I've noticed with Google, at least, and this is actually something a question for you. I've noticed the type of conversation and the sale cycle with Google is much different compared to like a mailer, or I don't know, I've never ran TV, but I feel like with Google, like it's the big leagues. You got to put your big boy hat on and get ready to go, because if you don't get that and they're ready to go, someone else is, especially virtual wholesalers doing it in multiple markets or whatever. I've noticed that's where we had problems with Google, is we were not converting closable deals, which was ultimately blowing our opportunities, and the cost was so high. I decided as the owner, this is not a profitable channel based on us, not on the fact that Google, doesn't work, because it does work. Have you guys noticed that with your team? You treat Google leads differently because they're just in a different kind of mode. They're in search mode versus, hey, I got this mailer. What would you pay me for my house?
Yeah, PPC leads are different is because they're form fill, and then you got to get a hold of them. If someone calls in off of a mailer, they've already taken that intimidating step to call in, and you've got them on the
Yeah.
phone, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to convert a direct mail or a radio or a TV lead to an appointment than it is Google
It
PPC.
is. Yeah.
And so speed to lead is very important to us. We try to call them back within seconds of the lead coming in, because if they're in poke around the internet and fill out forms mode,
Oh, it's the worst.
you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So in fact, we spend so heavily in our markets that inevitably we'll get a PPC, we'll get the same lead from a PPL provider, and we may get it submitted through Facebook as well, because retargeting, stuff like that. So when they're in that mode, you got to hop on it. But with that being said, I think a big misconception that people have with PPC is that, oh, there's intent there, they're the hottest, highest quality leads possible, and I think that's a little bit of a fallacy,
I think
because
that's bullshit, honestly.
we still get crap. You got to sift through the crap
100%.
and get stuff. So this idea of like, man, they raised their hand, they filled out a form, they definitely want to sell in theory, but that's not really the way it works all the time.
Sounds good if you're an agency.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it still takes us, 8 to 10-ish leads
Yeah.
to get a contract somewhere in that range. And you have to sift through the garbage to get to the good stuff. So
Totally. And I've noticed too with Google, if you get 10 leads, 5 of them are going to be, kind of crappy, honestly. They're going to be not a lot of intent, right? Oh, what would you offer me? Or it's listed or whatever. But the ones that aren't like that, the other 50% are decent. But I've noticed like for example, like when we were running it, we were losing deals to competitors because but it wasn't where we weren't calling, but we were calling back right away. But the thing I've noticed is like, there's so many virtual wholesalers all over the country who don't really understand anything about real estate, quite
yeah,
frankly. And what they're doing is we'll call them back to basically set an appointment or set a phone appointment, or, we'll take our time because we don't want to make them a bad offer. While we were doing that, after we got off the phone with them, somebody else called them, made them an offer on the spot. They were in sell mode. They signed for some crazy price, and
yeah,
now we don't have a shot at the dance. And I've noticed that was very, very popular with Google, unlike mailers and even YouTube is a little different.
yeah,
But I think people just need to go into PPC with their eyes open. And another little hack I've learned is I've noticed that if you're not willing to spend your daily budget, or sorry, if you're not willing to spend your cost per conversion on a daily budget, you're basically always going to have roller coaster results. Not
yeah,
saying it won't work, but like in Washington, if the cost per conversion is $500 and you're not willing to spend $500 a day, you're never going to have consistency in your leads and your deals with PPC, because you're kind of like screwing up Google wants you to spend enough to get a deal on a daily basis in a perfect world. And if you're not willing to do that, it's always going to be roller coaster results. But if you're like doing Google and you're all over the country and your cost per conversion is $100, you're spending $100 a day, you're going to have a steady flow of leads and probably deals. And that's something I wasn't doing in my market. I was spending like $250 a day. My cost per lead was about 500. So I was always getting these roller coaster results.
yeah.
And this PPC guy was like, dude, if you're not willing to spend your cost per lead per day, you're always going to have these results. And I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. I mean, have you guys seen that? I don't know if you guys still manage it in house or not.
Yeah, we've seen that a little bit. Years ago, we managed it in house. Didn't do all that well.
Yeah.
We sourced it to a well-known REI PPC specific agency for about a year. Didn't go all that well. We brought it back in house, I guess, earlier this year, and it's starting to go well. We started going, believe it or not, we started going more broad with the targeting, and we're in the process of testing both ways. But since we've gone broad, our lead volume has gone up. Our conversions have gone up. Our ROAS has gone up. So
Interesting.
we're still kind of new to it in the sense of we've historically mostly leaned on other experts to help us out.
Yeah.
And so now we're A/B testing landing pages and doing a lot of stuff, and trying to see where the top is in that PPC market for us. And we're just in a small East Tennessee geography, so it's not
Yeah.
like we have this huge opportunity like in Atlanta or Nashville or Tampa or Orlando, like these big markets.
Yeah.
Our MSA is less than 1 million people in our main market. So we're trying to figure out, how to be optimal, what works best, and those types of things. But yeah, similar to some of the stuff you said, we've seen some of those
Yeah.
same issues.
Google's it's in theory, Google, it's like, oh, I'll learn PPC and I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm certainly not an expert yet. Probably will never be, honestly, at this point. And I was like, you know what? I like running my business and I really like finances and private money and flipping houses and all that. Uh, you can't be, you can't have everything mastered, right? Like sometimes, like if you want to be a Google ninja, you got to spend a lot of time getting good at it. But then that's probably going to prevent you from running your flipping business, right? So it's like there's always like this balance. You have a big team, so you can, have full-time people and whatnot. But you definitely need to know what you're doing. That's the takeaway for the listeners. So let's now get into, you explain how you're getting all these leads. Let's get into the pipeline, exit strategies, how you guys are monetizing these, because you guys are getting 100 properties a month in a small market. I mean, that's extremely impressive. How are you guys deciding on all these files? What are you flipping? What are you wholesaling? What are you putting on the MLS on a no? Like, how do you guys decide that? Because I feel like with the scale you guys are at, there's so many decisions that have to get made on a daily basis. It could be overwhelming.
Yeah, so we have an underwriting process. So acquisition reps that go out and have appointments with sellers. I mean,
In
they're
person with at scale?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
We're boots on the ground only, which honestly gives it that's our competitive advantage in a lot of ways because we'll go in and win deals paying less money over someone calling on the phone from California. There's a rapport thing that you just have a leg up if you're belly to belly with the seller.
Totally.
So yeah, the acquisition rep's job is to go out and get these houses under contract, and from there, there's an underwriting process. Our COO he looks at every deal and basically decides would this be a good flip candidate or not. Typically, we'll try to take down the ones that are really juicy, flip them ourselves. We're probably, I don't know, taking down 8 to 10-ish per month and adding to the flip pile. We've got a project management team that manages the flips and contractors and all that jazz. But the lion's share of what we do is wholesaling, which is a good 80+% of our business, with the other being a split of fix and flip, novations, hotels, things like that. So yeah, the exit strategy, we try to do what's best for the bottom line, but not always. Sometimes the thing that's best for our bottom line isn't the best for the seller. And we try to always keep what's best for the seller in mind if
No,
at
that's
all
great,
possible.
man.
If they're needing a quick exit, we're very transparent. Look, we buy a lot of houses ourselves, but we can't buy them all. Like we physically can't buy them all.
Yeah.
Sometimes we buy them, sometimes we bring in a partner, and we're gonna need reasonable access to the property, and we'll figure it out. The good news for you is that we will keep you in the loop and be as transparent as possible and do what's best for you and try to get this transaction closed. And then also, if the seller wants a particular price and we know realistically we can't be there, we go ahead and set up like, look, I don't think this number can work, but let me do some due diligence. Hopefully I'm wrong. But if it turns out the number won't work, we have to talk about a price reduction. So there's never really any of these huge surprises that a lot of wholesalers do to sellers, which is just really a crappy thing to do just from a human being
Yeah.
perspective. Just be transparent and honest and run this thing like a business. Like every person that you meet with has to leave a Google review, and your goal is to make them leave a good
Leave
review.
a stellar review. So you guys are basically underwriting the deals. The best ones you're taking down and flipping. You're wholesaling the rest. What do you guys do? I mean, I assume your area makes sense for rentals. Are you guys doing any buy and holds, or are you just transacting everything?
We don't hold anything anymore.
Okay.
We had a lot of doors years ago, but we've gotten basically out of that. We still have some, but we're just not actively buying
Yeah.
to hold anymore. Of course, we have our investors, that's their strategy, and we'll wholesale those deals to them, but we don't even do a lot of sub twos anymore. We'll sign up a sub two deal, but we'll assign that deal to someone else that wants to
Yeah.
take sub two,
Yeah.
like get into the whole wrap sub three thing. We used to,
Yeah. I've done a few of those. They're a little complicated. Yeah.
yeah. And it's at scale, it's very stressful because there's this whole do on sell thing. It's like, man,
Yep.
if the shoe drops on hundreds of these things at once, it's like, what do you do?
Screwed. Well, the seller's screwed. Well, everyone's screwed. Everyone will get named in that lawsuit. That's what they don't talk about. So are you guys, this is another, like, you guys are doing so much volume in a small area. How do you consistently have like a buyer's list to sell these to? Assuming you're not novating some of them, because you're novating some of them, which is different. On the off market, like, how do you guys not like tap your buyers out? Because like if you were in like Dallas, I'd be like, there's a million buyers. You're not in Dallas. You're in a small area for the most part. How do you not max out your buyers?
That's kind of a moving target that we don't necessarily know where it is yet. We just
Yeah.
know that if the numbers work, we haven't had a whole lot of trouble moving them. I guess we have 1,500 or so buyers on our list that we consistently do deals with, whether it's one a year or multiple per year.
Yeah.
And kind of our dispo process is we have two people in our dispo department, and the deals kind of get split up between those two gals, and they'll email blast or reach out personally or text blast, things like that, properties with the links, and try to set up a time to go see it, basically. So we attempt to do like an open house type thing, like a one and done if we can, because getting back to, again, to what's, if it's vacant, and do whatever you want. Like you can go a
Yeah. Put a
million.
box on there and have at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if someone lives there, like it kind of goes back to what's best for the seller. Like you don't want to be calling 10 times. You got someone else, have someone else,
Yeah.
have
They're going to get
someone else.
pissed.
Just look, if you can't make it, we try to lean on that scarcity thing of like, look, this is the time that we can get in. Hope you can make it. We don't really say it like that, but if not, someone else will, so we attempt to do kind of a one shot. This is what it is. And then also, again, being transparent with the seller, but we also have a due diligence period, 10 days or so of we can evaluate and back out if we want.
Yeah.
And that's never a surprise to the seller.
Yeah.
At
They
least it's,
know. They understand there's a contingency period. Yep.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of,
Are
what
you
we,
selling your deals to buyers? Like if like look, for example, some wholesalers just do straight auction, starting bid, and then it goes up, or like some people are like, hey, Bob, if you could buy this house for 400, or in your case, probably 150, we'll sell it to you with no competition. How do you guys work that with the buyers so they don't get pissed off and they're not just like, oh, I'm going to the auction again and I'm going to lose this deal?
yeah. So it's a very subjective thing with our dispo reps, with how they handle that. But we do have, I would say quite often, situations to where if a buyer really wants it, we'll just throw out a number. If you want it, I won't show it to anyone else, and you can have it for
Yeah.
this. So we do lean on that quite a bit.
There's value in that. People don't like back before the market shifted. I used to be like, the county auction, and it was like, oh, whatever, man. Like someone will pay 30 grand more, and that always happened. But now, I don't wholesale everything. So if I do wholesale something, before I go email it out, I'll be like, hey, Randy, you want this house at, 585? If you can, we can walk it. And then that way it makes my job easier. It makes his decision process easier. And, as long as the numbers still work, the numbers still work.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
in your area, I mean, obviously a deal is very subjective. Are you guys looking to sell your deals at like 80 cents on do you have like a formula you guys are using this? Cause like some wholesalers put out deals for 200 grand and the ARV is 250 and it needs 50 and no one buys it. You see it on Investor Lift. But then the good wholesalers never have a problem selling their deals.
yeah. So we kind of, our acquisition reps kind of start with a formula depending on the price point. We start with somewhere between 70 and 80% of ARV minus repairs, minus what you might want to make on the deal, something like that. And by the time you back all that out, I mean, the reality is quite often we'll contract deals for half of ARV.
That's what it usually ends up being. I was telling my team that the other day. I said, if we're getting 50% of Zillow or Redfin, rough numbers, and it needs work, it's probably a deal.
Yeah. So, and in those cases, unless it's just in an area that someone doesn't want, those aren't overly complicated to move. Even if you feel like you're hammering your buyers list with, 100 plus new deals every month, that type thing. So,
Yeah. Now that's awesome. So how are you guys kind of navigating as this industry shifts into more regulations? Like in Washington State, there's a big thing going in effect January 1st, where even if doesn't even have to do wholesaling, if you're soliciting off market real estate, unless you have a license, but the seller is entitled to get an appraisal that's paid for by the buyer, and they have 4 days to cancel. Or if they don't get the appraisal, they have 10 days to cancel, which is basically going to throw some things off. How are you guys navigating with these regulations?
yeah, there's been some things happen recently. Like there's a disclaimer we have to have in the purchase and sales agreement now in bold that the contract has the option to be assigned, stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, largely our state has giving wholesaling its blessing. And the reason I say that is because you can list wholesale agreements on the MLS down in Chattanooga. So it's like you wouldn't
Oh,
be
a
able to,
contract vendee situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to a large degree, like the more and more of these hoops that you have to jump through for companies like ours that will figure it out and navigate it. In a lot of ways, it's a positive because it just eliminates the people looking to make a quick buck and it's not serious and they're like, screw it, I'll go do something else.
Yeah, right.
You all have to get licensed at some point. We'll do it. But we'll figure it out. I mean, worst case scenario, we just have to double close and take stuff down and like we'll figure it out. But
There's always a way to monetize it, get licensed. Are you guys, is there any other states that you're in, or is it just Tennessee right now?
we're technically in Georgia just because Chattanooga is right there on the.
Oh, is it that southern part of Tennessee? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kind of near
Yeah.
Hotlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little town up there called Rossville that we do quite a few deals in. A lot of people live in Rossville, work in Chattanooga, or vice versa. So it's basically Chattanooga Metro.
Yeah.
It's super close. So, but yeah, Tennessee, Georgia are basically the ones. Virginia, every
Virginia.
once in a while, and but yeah, that's basically it.
Have you guys considered, like, I'm thinking you guys have this down to a science in these tertiary markets. In theory, if you went to Nashville or, I mean, what's Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm thinking of like areas near you that are bigger. Have you guys ever considered that? Or you kind of like your niche where they're these tertiary cities that people know about, but it's not like a household city like Nashville would be?
Yeah, I mean, time will tell on some of that. We've considered moving over toward Nashville as far as like the next market we want to hop
Yeah.
into. Um, haven't talked about it real seriously, but it seems like our niche has been kind of these mid-tier markets that
Yeah.
are a million or less MSA. Not by design necessarily. It's just that's the market that we started in, and it's gone
Yeah.
well. So the thinking is, if you want to replicate and plop the formula down in somewhere else, then try to have all things as equal as possible and see how it works. So we'll see where we go next, but and that's coming probably sooner rather than later.
It's really impressive to see what you guys have done, and especially in a relatively smaller area, even though you're kind of bundling up some of these littler cities. I mean, as we start to wrap the show up, I mean, you guys have built this thing at scale. You're doing it profitably. You're doing it successfully. What would you tell somebody who is listening to the show right now? They are doing deals. They're making money. They're making a couple $100,000 a year. They have maybe one VA and they want to scale their business, right? They want to do it to where the level you're doing it at. What would be your best advice in 30 seconds or less on how they can do that profitably and not scale themselves out of business? Because I see most people doing the latter.
Yeah, I think number one, figure out the things that you like to do and the things you don't like to do, and the things you don't like to do. Figure out someone else that can do it at least 80% as good as you. If you like doing deals and talking to sellers, then fine, keep doing that. And if you don't like doing long-term follow-up with leads, then maybe hire a lead manager or something. So and then also double down on the things that are working instead of looking for the next shiny new object or the magic pill
That's
marketing.
a good piece of advice, man. That's really
Yeah,
good.
so if you're crushing with direct mail, do more direct mail. If you're crushing with Facebook, then do more Facebook. So don't feel like you have to do all the different marketing channels because inevitably let's say you're doing 200 grand a year and you've got a $10,000 a month marketing budget and you're spending that on like mainly on one lead source. If you trim that down and spread it out across a bunch of lead sources, it's not going to work well.
No, it's going to screw you up big time.
It just, double and triple down on the things that are working and figure out the other stuff later and just relax. Don't be in this hurry to do all the things all at once. Kind of slow down to go faster in some ways. Especially if you're looking at this as a long-term play. You don't need to do it all this year or this month or whatever. It's look, figure out what works, double, triple down on it, and just try to find efficiencies along the way. And the other thing I would say is just as you start to hire people, I can't tell you how incredibly important it is to hire. And this is a little bit cliche at this point, but you have to hire A players and figure out ways to try to identify those as best as you can. Because if you don't have A players on your team, it's just not going to work. And our team looks a lot different and has looked a lot different over the years. And inevitably, time after time, as the team starts to look more and more different, we're always in a better place than we were previously. And you don't necessarily get there quick. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out all the people in the right seats and things of that nature. So other than that, I think just stay consistent with your marketing. Don't start and stop things, and double down on the things that work.
No, that's good advice because if you really think about it and unpack it, like if you have really good people around you doing the things that you don't have time to do or don't want to do, that's ultimately going to make the business more productive. And then if you don't just spray your marketing out and you go deep with every channel and you add a channel off of the profits the other channel has made and you don't stop that one channel, your ROAS is going to be consistent. Therefore, you can actually grow your business versus like you said, if you're spending 20 a month in mail and then you go 5 in mail, 5 in PPC, 5 in TV, and 5 on radio, like it might not be enough to get the consistent deals per channel. So I think that's really good advice. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. And I mean, what's your kind of goal now for the business? Are you guys looking to eventually sell this? Are you looking to franchise it? Like, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah, we don't have any plans of selling it. There's no real exit strategy other than just to continue to scale and probably expand into more markets, things like that. So the long-term vision is really maximize each market and then plop down in another market as you've capitalized as much as you can
Rinse and
on
repeat.
that market. Yeah. So, and we're starting to feel some of that with some particular lead sources with direct mail and radio, for example. Radio is one that we can go down a huge rabbit hole on, but it works extremely well. And a lot of people's like
That's
radio.
so weird. I'm like, who the hell listens to the radio now? Everyone's got CarPlay and they have Spotify. I'm like, I'm just in my head. I'm like, I guess our types of sellers listen to the radio in the car.
We'll do between 25 and 35 deals a month just from radio.
Are you
Um,
doing that with a vendor or do you go direct to the stations?
no, that's my bucket. I deal with all the advertising stuff, and so direct to the
Wow.
stations. And 20-second piece of advice for radio is don't pay what they ask you to pay. Tell them what you're willing to pay, and they'll find spots for you. Because the reality is, unless they're full, the most expensive spot to a radio station is an empty one. And once that spot is up,
Mm,
they can never recover it. So if they run a house ad or it's empty, you're never ever getting it back. There's a finite number of spots.
mm.
So you have to approach it like you're, even if you're not, approach it like you're very experienced. And these are where your numbers need to be. This is what I need to be per spot, things like that. And if they can't make it work, that's okay. I go to the next shop in
Like
town.
buying a house.
Yeah, we're on north of 30 stations. I guess this we're on every station in East Tennessee, and I guess it's right around 30 stations per month. And of 30, two have told me no with the way that I approach it. And if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm basically getting spots for 80% off of retail. I've got $5 spots, $10 spots, $25 spots when they want 100. And it's all about the rate because if we paid retail, it would barely work.
Yeah, because
Um,
the cost per conversion would be so much higher. Yeah, it wouldn't be. Yeah.
yeah. Same thing with TV. You have to approach it with this is what I'm willing to pay and this is where I need to be. And I'm looking for a long-term relationship here, those kinds of things. Then once you start it, just be consistent with it. When we started super small, we were spending, shoot, I can't remember, somewhere between five and $10,000 per month when we first started radio, and we're at 75,000 a month just in radio now. And we scaled that up like incrementally as it proved itself more and more and more. We just keep scaling it month over
Yeah.
month.
Like, what is it with radio? Like, how come those leads are so banging? Like, because I'm thinking radio, like, I don't even ever listen to radio, but I guess I'm not the type of seller you want to go after either.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the reality is most of the people we do business with are probably 45, 50
Yeah.
plus kind of thing. People still listen to the radio. It's still TV and radio. It's still the largest reaching medium in any market as far as eyeballs and ears. And so you won't get everyone, but you'll get enough of people with repetition that are in their car and they hear the message over and over and over again, and they call in, and that's why it takes 5 point something leads, I think, on radio to get a deal. It's similar with TV. Yeah, our cost per lead is high on radio, but it takes a lot less leads to get a deal.
More efficient.
So yeah, they've kind of already qualified themselves if they call in. Really, the only waste phone calls we get are contractors that hear us. Hey, I heard you on the radio. You're buying houses. You happen to need anybody for drywall?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so stuff like that. But if people call in, first of all, literally no one calls in from the radio that they're pissed off because they heard a radio ad. People
No.
call all the time because they got a piece of mail that they're pissed off about.
Oh,
That's
got a whole
80% of our
database of
calls.
angry
It's like,
people.
hey, yeah, take me off the list. So we do the blind offer check letters on the direct mail and
Oh, yeah.
have for a year and a half, and they just keep cranking like gangbusters. And it's not so much about what the number is. It's basically 75% of Zillow. We send them out and people call in and they're expecting lower than that because they understand realistically, like we're a business. And so those things work.
Dude, it's impressive what you guys have built. It's really impressive. I know you're a busy guy, so I'll wrap up the interview now because you probably got a million things to do with all those
Oh,
houses going on. Radio, there's a lot of takeaways from this. It's really scaling smartly, having A players, really going deep with these marketing channels before you start to expand them, buying wholesale radio prices, not retail radio prices, picking these tertiary markets and not going into some of these major metros, which could be a jungle sometimes. A lot of nuggets on this show. This is going to be a popular one. I'm really excited to get this out there. If people wanted to stay in touch with you and connect with you, what is the best way for people to, just connect with you, reach out if they want to reach out? Like, how do they get in touch with you, man?
Yeah, Facebook's great. Jayme Lyttle, JaymeLyttle. PM me there. Just reach out, and I'm always
That's when
glad.
you know you're a real player. You just plug to Facebook because you got nothing else, which is the way.
Yeah, it's like I
That's
don't.
that's the truth test there.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing in it for me really. It's
Yeah.
help
Go to
people.
scalewithjamie.com /podcast /Greg, affiliate code 65. Jayme, man, I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. I mean, we don't really know each other too well until now. So thank you for doing this, man.
Yep.
People are going to get a lot of value from this. You've built an incredible business. You should be proud of yourself. And hope you have a great day, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yep. Appreciate it.